Radical.
Welcome to Flea Market Stories, documenting one man's journey into the world of flea marketing. First off, you might hear some background music. It's the end of a Stevie Nicks CD. I think it's Time Space. Cleaning that one. No skips so far. I just don't know whether to charge $5 or $10 for a best of Stevie Nicks. A best of Fleetwood Mac, sure, definitely, $10. But I don't know. I mean, she's got some songs. Edge of 17 is good. Quit Dragging My Heart Around. That one she did with Don Henley. But I don't know if this 14-track CD is worth $10. You know, that's the decisions that I'm making constantly for the store. But I'm not going to talk about that. Well, I already did, but I'm not going to talk about that. That's not what this is about. I just want to start a conversation about legitimately a story that is developing at the flea market. Now, a lot of times with flea market stories, I don't stick to the format, which is documenting stories that happen at the flea market. A lot of times I'm talking about sales, but going forward, I have less time for things like flea market stories. So if I do one of these, it's probably going to be about a story, funny or not funny, that develops. And right now, the biggest story that has been developing is the past couple months, I have permanent helpers. Used to be off and on helpers, but here, especially last couple weekends, I have two people, and there's a family, man and a woman and their daughter. The man and the woman are in their 40s, the daughter is in her 20s, and all of them collectively have helped me at the store. And in return, I allow them to sell things in my store. I've even created a outside vendor type area, consignment area, which is a table. So when people come in with store credit that they've gotten from turning in games or whatnot, they can't say, oh, I want those manga books over there, because a lot of what she brings me is manga books. I want that manga book using my store credit. So, you know, I make sure to have it be an outside area. The biggest story developed is, well, she's in kind of a love triangle with her husband that she kind of bounces back and forth between being married to, then being separated to. Not divorced, but separated. And I think I briefly mentioned that this person used to come by alone and help, which was weird because she'd always come with her family and help out back when I was at my old spot. And I always thought it was kind of weird and strange that she would just come there and just stay there alone. And then kind of like, I don't know, like I felt like there was maybe an attraction she had to me because she was separated from the the husband. And there were things like hints that she would bring stuff to sell for me to sell, and then I would tell her like, okay, well, you get a percentage of the sell. And there was a movie that she just brought singularly one day called Unfaithful, which has, I think, Richard Gere, I forget who else. And, you know, from the title alone, and I watched the movie, it was about a woman being unfaithful to her husband. Now, it didn't end that well for the person she cheated on with, because, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, Richard Gere winds up hitting the guy in the head with, like, I think a bowling ball. Kills him, then hides the body. Yeah, it's a happy ending, of course, because she finds out that he was killed, and then I guess it's kind of like an even thing, right? Right? You know, you cheat on your husband, and then your husband winds up killing the person that cheated on your wife. So yeah, not a happy feel-good movie. But there were things like that, and then other stuff like she would still ask me all these freaking questions. There was one moment of time in December, she knew some types of karate, and out of nowhere she like grabs my hand and twists it around my back like, I want to show you a karate move. And it's just kind of strange or weird just out of the blue, right? Like she was trying to put out there that she had interest in me, but I had no interest back to her. And, you know, maybe I should have. She's not an unattractive person. I follow astrology and the star signs, and she had a very favorable star sign to mine. Trust me, you know, you may laugh, but actually there are certain women you should avoid based on your star sign. Trust me, there's, you know, it's legit a lot of the time. It's not just pie in the sky. There's actually something to it a lot of the time. But I was not at all romantically interested her in the least. Like I said, she's a cool person, likes a lot of the same things I like, but, you ever and mostly, yeah, I think it's because she's married. That's probably the main reason I'm not interested in her. But she spared no try to put it out there without straight up telling me, like, hey, I'm interested in you, because women usually will do that, thankfully. But I wasn't interested in her. And I'm not going to give you the full story because I don't have the time to. But just so you know, just have an idea of what's going on there. Okay, we made it all the way through the Stevie Nicks CD. That's cool. Okay. Just to give you an idea of what's going on there with her. Now, about 2 months ago, there's this other person that would come by the table sometimes, and I had some dealings with him. He would sometimes buy some things. He liked the Clive Barker comic books and horror stuff. And, out of the blue, she develops a relationship with this person. Legitimately. And, she kind of wants to talk about it, but doesn't. Where she doesn't if you ask her, and then she just mentioned it, and I was like, oh, okay. She was engaging to see how I would respond to it, but I really didn't care. And she mentioned, oh, dang, you keep sending me all this sexual stuff, she's baiting me to try to ask, but I don't care about it. I legitimately, I couldn't care any less about it. If anything, I think, good, she found someone here at the flea market to hook up with that's not me. Well, apparently she told me, I think I'd ask her something about I think I broke down and asked because she kept mentioning it, but it wasn't anything asking I don't know, fucking, it makes my head hurt sometimes thinking about the whole situation. But, essentially I asked, what happened with her and her husband, and she said that he asked to take a break. I don't think that's a good marriage when one of you are asking the other one to take a break. Also, I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate. It's not like she knows I'm not going to ask the guy, so I just took it as it was. Oh, okay. So he asked for a break. He asked for a break. She gets with somebody, and then the husband winds up not being happy with it, and then wants to get back with her, and then apparently has a conversation with the other person. They don't have a fight or anything like that. So they came to some kind of an agreement. I'm thinking, that's kind of weird. Is this kind of like a cucking situation where they're going to treat her like a pinball or something like that? Maybe he's got her half of the week, he's got the other half of the week. So it's a weird situation. Wouldn't you agree? You would think usually what happens is there's a fight that breaks out if you find someone's, but in this case, since he asked for the break, maybe that wouldn't be the case. And he would be wrong in that because he asked her for the break. I didn't ask any follow-up questions well, didn't he just ask for the break, or is there someone that he's linked to? Because whenever I see him there, he's not with another female. So there's that, right? There's that. And that's going to be the end of this addition to the situation. I don't even know I'm going to title this. All I know is this was a quick thing I could upload. I just got back from doing some shopping. I have to go to work in a little bit. And tomorrow, probably not going to have part 2 of this. Probably going to have a Radical Rapid Fire that I've been planning, picking the comments from. And then maybe a day after, I'm going to have an update to this. But legitimately, this is a developing flea market story. So, this is a little bit different, but I want to keep this playlist up. I want to keep adding to it. And why not go ahead and just give you some actual legitimate stories that are developing? And you might say, well, what's the next part of the story? Well, we'll see this weekend. It's like I said, it's all a developing story. And, yeah, so that's all I got to say right now. I wish I could go further. I wish, but damn, real life and time constraints. I'll catch y'all later.